Let me ask you one question. Have you ever been sitting in a room full of people, laughing, talking, celebrating, yet inside you felt completely and utterly alone? Have you ever walked through a busy street, surrounded by thousands of strangers, and felt like you were invisible? Like if you disappeared right now, nobody would even notice. If this sounds like you, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. For years, you have been told that being alone is a weakness. You have been told that humans are social animals. You have been told that if you do not have friends, if you do not go out on weekends, if you prefer your own company, there must be something wrong with you. But what if I told you that the exact thing you have been taught to be ashamed of, your solitude, is actually the secret to unlocking a level of intelligence and creativity that most people will never, ever reach? Today's story is about a young man named Ethan, a 26-year-old software developer who spent his entire life believing he was socially broken. He had acquaintances, he had coworkers, but he had no real friends. He went to work, he came home, he ate dinner alone, and he went to sleep, week after week, month after month. His parents worried about him, his colleagues whispered behind his back, calling him arrogant and antisocial. But Ethan was not arrogant. He was just exhausted, because every time he tried to be normal, every time he forced himself to go to a bar or a loud party, he came back feeling drained, like his life force had been sucked out of him. He would go to these parties, smile, make small talk, laugh at jokes he did not find funny, just to prove to everyone that he was fine, just to prove that he was not a loner. But coming back home, he would collapse on his bed, completely exhausted, wondering why he felt so miserable when everyone else seemed to be having the time of their lives. One Sunday morning, something happened that changed everything. He was scrolling through the internet at 7 in the morning, trying to figure out why he felt so miserable. He typed into the search bar, "Why do I feel so drained around people?" He clicked on an article written by a neuroscientist, and as he read those words, his entire world flipped upside down. The article explained something called the default mode network. Let me explain this to you in simple terms. Inside your brain, you have a specific network of neurons that lights up when you are doing absolutely nothing. When you are daydreaming, when you are thinking about your past, when you are planning your future, when you are reflecting on who you are, that is your default mode network working. But here is the shocking part. Science has proven that this network is directly linked to creativity, self-awareness, and complex problem-solving. The most intelligent people, the deepest thinkers, the greatest artists, and the most innovative problem-solvers have highly active default mode networks. But listen to this carefully. When you force yourself into loud, high-stimulation environments, like crowded clubs or constant social gatherings, your brain is forced to shut down the default mode network to process the external noise. You are literally turning off the part of your brain that makes you smart just to fit in. Ethan realized something that morning. He wasn't broken. He wasn't depressed. He wasn't antisocial. He was simply overstimulated. His brain was wired differently. His dopamine sensitivity was much higher than average people. For extroverts, social interaction gives them a chemical reward. But for Ethan, and maybe for you, social interaction creates cortisol, the stress hormone. Every time he went to a party, his brain screamed, "Too much, too many faces, too much noise," and he had spent his whole life thinking that was a failure. From that day on, Ethan stopped saying yes to every invitation out of fear. He stopped apologizing for eating lunch alone. Instead of scrolling social media for 2 hours in the evening, he started reading. Instead of burning his energy at loud bars, he started using that energy to build something meaningful. He realized that his solitude was not a punishment, it was a gym for his brain. While his colleagues were hungover on Sunday mornings, Ethan was awake at 6 in the morning, learning new skills, writing a business plan, studying psychology, and building his mind. Years passed. Ethan stopped chasing people who did not value him. He stopped trying to be everyone's friend. He invested that saved social energy into his craft. He became so skilled at his work that companies started competing for him. He started his own consulting firm. One afternoon, he walked past his old office. He saw the same colleagues who used to call him lonely and quiet. They were standing outside, gossiping, complaining about their lives, just as they had done 5 years ago. They were still in the same place, because they had spent their entire lives escaping their own company. They had never sat with themselves long enough to figure out who they actually were. Ethan did not feel anger. He did not feel sadness. He felt peace, because he finally understood a profound truth. And this truth is for you too. When you try to fit into a society that doesn't appreciate your depth, you sacrifice your identity. When you crave connection just to feel normal, you often end up in relationships that drain you. You end up in friendships that are shallow. You end up wasting your potential. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness. Solitude is a state of power. Ethan remembered that as a child, he loved being alone. He wasn't sad, he was imaginative. It was only when society told him he was weird that he started hating himself for it. And that's the deepest tragedy of all. We spend our whole lives trying to become what others expect, only to realize that we have lost the one person we were supposed to protect, our true selves. Now, Ethan doesn't have 0 friends. He has chosen friends. He has fewer conversations, but they are deep. He doesn't go to parties, but his life is rich, because peace is more important than noise. To the person watching this right now, if you are someone who loves doing things alone, who hates small talk, who feels drained by crowds, I want you to hear this loud and clear. Your brain is not broken. It is simply operating on a higher frequency. Your default mode network is highly active. That means you're a deep thinker. You reflect, you analyze, you imagine, you innovate. These are not weaknesses. These are the exact traits that allow you to build a life that others can only dream of. So, the next time someone asks you, "Why are you always alone?" you can smile, look them in the eye, and say, "Because I don't need people to validate my existence. I'm building a world inside my mind that doesn't require constant external noise." You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You have to be the most present. You don't have to be everyone's friend. You just have to be your own. The world doesn't change because of people who follow the crowd. It changes because of those who step away from the crowd to think, to plan, and to create. Let me ask you one final question. When you're alone with your thoughts, no phone, no television, no people, do you feel anxiety or do you feel power? If you feel power, you are one of the rarest people on this planet, and you are destined for something greater than the average life. If this story touched your heart, please do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who feels lonely today. And tell me in the comments, what is one thing you love doing alone that makes you feel most like yourself? Your next moment of solitude could become the first brick in the future you have been praying for. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.